this is something we need to have a discussion about, because we saw the Super Bowl go down. We saw a lot of people say it was boring. The Chief fans, they were very distraught about it. They thought they were going to get that three-peat. We went into this idea that, look, the Chiefs was the team they were propping up. The NFL was propping up. We understood about the Taylor Swift thing and the George Soros connection there, and then the Kelsey, doing Pfizer shot commercials with his mom last year, and so we knew that this is something that I don't know, man. We watched it just to watch it. A lot more people were into it. They wanted more action on that side, but I was watching, the Eagles winning this thing. I thought there was some statement being made there. When I looked afterwards, and so we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about what Kendrick Lamar did in his halftime show, and how it's a statement not just against Drake, his this rivalry we've seen, but also there's maybe this bigger statement going on, and we've seen people respond to that. So let's start with the halftime show, because I think that probably is the biggest thing that came out of this. Granted, yeah, we had this anticlimactic game, some would say, but I think that it's really about the Super Bowl halftime show. On first watch, a lot of people said, it's boring. And I understand their adage in the sense that a lot of times people, I mean, I will say this too. I will say hip hop has been kind of overdone, and it's really hard to get a good, really fun tune we haven't really had for a long time. So me going in, I was like, but let's put the music part aside and look at the lyrics, and let's look at the messaging. So starting with this, I'm just going to put this up. This is, if you guys didn't know, there was a record broken on Super Bowl Sunday. It wasn't by the Eagles. It wasn't by the Chiefs. It was by Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance, which 133.5 million viewers watched this. So that's something just to start with. From there, I'm going to tell you guys this. There is an assessment coming from the left and from the right. And I want your take on this in a second, Jay. But the left is doing the thing that I think we thought they were going to do, because it's easy to see. I think it's a little easier to see this messaging. Let me put this up on the screen. I'm just going to read some of this, because we're seeing this in a lot of lefty circles. And I agree. I think a lot of this is present, but I also think there's more to this. So here is a pretty good breakdown of the left, the messaging of speaking truth to power and the Black experience and what he did with that. So we're going to start with that. Let me just get it on the screen here. Here we go. Yeah, so here, I'm going to read some of this. So you can see him, there's some clips of it below. But this is IG Raheem Shabazz says, when Kendrick Lamar declared 40 acres and a mule in this is bigger than music, he wasn't merely making a lyrical statement. He was invoking a profound historical injustice that continues to shape the realities of Black America. The phrase 40 acres and a mule references the unfulfilled promise made to formerly enslaved Black Americans after a civil war, a broken commitment that symbolizes the systematic economic disenfranchisement of Black people in America. His words transcend hip-hop. They speak to the deep wounds of generational oppression and the ongoing fight for reparations, a demand for justice, not charity. By placing this historical struggle within the framework of his music, Kendrick isn't just rapping, he's using his art as a vehicle for truth, resistance, and a call to action. The statement reminds us that reparations aren't just a political debate or an abstract concept. They're a moral imperative, a debt owed, and an essential step towards true justice and equality. Okay, so this part makes sense. I get it. And we can debate reparations and this and that, but there's something there. The part that is interesting to me beyond this, and I've seen this in circles here in Hollywood. I've seen people assume that Trump was the target of this. I've seen people tweet out and do, I can't grab them right now, but I'm going to tell you guys, they think that this was a direct action against Trump and that Trump is squirming and that MAGAs are squirming. That's not actually the case. On the right, they're saying that there was a larger statement. I don't see people push back at this. They say, okay, yes, that's there. But there's something actually larger going on. We're seeing a statement against the captured Hollywood and the entertainment industry and people like Drake, which represent the oligarchy and the control of the kids and the pedophilia. And you saw that in the songs as well. So I'm going to pass it to you, Jay, and say, do you think, this is my question to you, knowing that those two narratives are happening at the same time, and I think the left needs to catch up because they're not fully understanding the larger thing happening. But it seems to me, I've never seen an event like this where two sides, the sides we've been talking about the whole show today, that the two sides are resonating with the same thing in a different way, in a positive way at the same
Mhm.
time. I think it's pretty fascinating. What are your thoughts on that assessment?
Yeah, I thought it was, a great performance. I understand that, some of the music he played might not be as widely known, as some of the other past Super Bowl performances. So I know there were some people on Twitter who said it was a terrible performance. And I even heard some conservatives say that They Not Like Us was racist against white people.
Mm.
But people who said that have not actually listened to the lyrics of the song, because the song is talking about pedophiles. The song is talking primarily about pedophilia, and it's saying that Drake is a pedophile. And he's talking about exactly what you mentioned just now, Matt. He's talking about how a lot of these elites and a lot of these people in Hollywood are, the Jeffrey Epstein types. They're rolling with Diddy, this kind of thing. So, like, at the end of the day, if you are looking for a way to get offended and misinterpret what people are saying, you'll be able to twist anything people say and try to pull something offensive out of it. But if you look at the context of the song and what he was talking about, it seems pretty obvious. He's talking about pedophiles are not like us. He's not talking about anything
Yes.
else. And if you look at what happened even in his home state in California, there was a reparations motion that I believe, made it all the way up to Governor Newsom's desk, and then Newsom vetoed it. So if you're a believer in reparations, the Democrats just vetoed like your reparations. So how can you as a Democrat say that he's talking about Trump when Democrats have been standing in the way of it? We've had Barack Obama, a black president who had a supermajority. We just came off a presidency of Joe Biden. I don't think Joe Biden mentioned reparations once, like throughout his whole presidency. So why would you assume that he's only talking about Donald Trump pushing this injustice when the Democrats have actually just blocked it because it did pass, in California, and Newsom refused to sign it. So, and one last thing about that, I'm not a Black American. I'm an immigrant. I'm an American, but there's like a specific ethnic group for Black Americans, and I think it is important people recognize that when people talk about reparations, the primary recipients of it should be like the Black Americans who can trace their lineage back, like to what actually happened here in America and Jim Crow and everything that came after. So, but that's a separate conversation. In terms of like what Kendrick was talking about, you can't say he's only talking about Trump, because Democrats have been in power. They still didn't address it. Obviously, Trump isn't going to give Black people reparations. We know that. But like, he's not only talking about Trump. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the Democrats, we know they just they're just way
Mhm.
behind. They're just not
Mhm.
as far along on this. And I think a lot of the reason is because the right, populist right, have been watching these entertainment productions for a long time, and they've been calling out all the little, satanic worshiping pedophilia stuff, and they're always looking for it. And it's there. And like, you go, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like we'll watch one of the award shows and we're like, oh my God, there it is. And
And there was
it's
none
usually
of
pretty,
that.
it's right in your face. It's usually like this red, like smoke, and you have
Mhm.
the people worshiping, and all this stuff. The symbolism comes up, and all their little secret codes, and
Mhm.
all their little hand gestures. We know all the little hand gestures. The left has been completely oblivious to this. They don't
Mhm.
even know what's going on. So when
And
they're busy saying stick it to Trump, the right is saying no, we get all that. We don't really have time to look at that. We're saying we've never seen an event, a performance like this, where
Mhm.
there was, it seemed like it was against that type of symbolism.
Mhm.
They're very happy on the right. They're seeing that. I mean, aside from the ones you mentioned, there's still people going, you and your black.
It's a couple,
But
though. I don't
there's
think
a
that's a
couple of those.
majority. Yeah.
There's a couple of those. But I'm seeing the people that generally are very
Mhm.
sharp when it comes to breaking down these award shows, these entertainment events, Super Bowls, where people are watching. There's celebrities there all over the
Mhm.
place, and they're saying this one looked a little different. This
Mhm.
one looked like he was, and especially because some of those songs were designed to be songs that nobody actually heard up until that day. And if they were
Mm-hmm.
rehearsing them, he had lyrics in there. I'm telling you, Jay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to play something in a second about there was a breakdown I saw this morning, and this girl's going to break it down, some of the symbolism. You can take it or leave it, or take it for a grain of salt. Yeah, actually, let's play some of that now, and then I do want to get to the protester too, because that was another thing. The protester with the Palestine flag, that's important too. But let's do a little
Yep.
bit of this, because people are responding to this this very positive take on some of the unspoken stuff that
Mm-hmm.
she's saying. That she is saying that Kendrick Lamar was fully aware he was doing within the lyrics. And you have to just take another look before you write it off. Take another listen and listen to what she has to say here for a little bit.
Eagle rose again like the phoenix, just like I said it would, huh? Shout out to everybody that been hitting me up thanking me. You're welcome. Remember I told y'all symbolism is the key to life. So I hope y'all won big. Remember, eagles represent freedom, higher vision, and divine power. The eagle has long been a symbol of transcendence, seeing beyond the illusion, breaking free from control. It represents those rising above the system. The chiefs represented leadership, traditional authority, the ruling class, the old way, the ones who have governed and controlled. Eagle also represents spiritual awakening. It defeated the chiefs that established power. This was a war between the old and the new, between those who seek freedom and truth, and those who wish to maintain authority and control. Don't forget the hierarchy. War isn't just won in one single battle, though. The game was just one chapter. War is happening inside of every single person watching. Before I break down that Super Bowl performance, ritual, whatever you want to call it, let's break down the score. 40-22. I told y'all the numbers always tell you a story. Both of these numbers reduced to 4. 4 is the number of the physical world, remember that, as well as order, foundation, and control. The battle is over the foundation of reality itself. Who controls the rules? Who decides how the game is played? I had to go a little bit further. The difference between the scores was very interesting to me. 18 points. Where my numerology people at though? What does that 18 reduce to? 9. The year of 2025 is the year of what? 9. Once again, signaling the end of a cycle. 9 is the last number before reset, closing of an era before something new begins. So in my mind, the war is reaching a critical moment. Which leads me to my next point, because the war played out right on stage. If you had eyes to see, you already knew what was happening. But I see there's a lot of people who do not have eyes that see clearly. So many were confused. So many were saying this was the worst halftime performance ever. That's because you want to be entertained, which it was very entertaining. It's deeper than that. Kendrick came in hot. Revolution is about to be televised. You picked the right time for the wrong guy. I almost threw my damn phone. He told us what's about to happen. This was a coded transmission. A ritual. He started off with the tic-tac-toe board and Uncle Sam, played by Samuel L. Jackson. Now, tic-tac-toe is a game of entrapment and strategy. Either you win or you get caught in the endless loop. Then Uncle Samuel Jackson steps. That's the system stepping in, controlling the board, making sure the game is always played their way. You heard him between almost every song trying to interrupt and tell him what to do, trying to make sure he didn't sing They Not Like Us. Kendrick starts rapping on an old school car, which represents history. History repeating itself, but the past still running the present. Answers in red, white, and blue emerge from the car. The American flag in human form. The controlled masses. When this man raps, the revolution is about to be televised. This is the moment, the shift. But you gotta ask, is it real or is it manufactured? Then he takes us into Squabble Up. Dancers in red behind him, the ones in white in front of him. That represents polarity, division, conflict. Battle between power, which is red, and control, which is white. Then boom, here comes Samuel L. Jackson, aka Uncle Sam one. He checks Kendrick once again, just like in real life. Whenever a leader, a voice gets ttoo loud, y'all already know what happens.
Okay, so I'm going to pause there. There's a little more to it, but you're getting the idea that there might be more going on here. I'm not saying I'm literally taking everything she's saying, but it's interesting to see this perspective. What are your thoughts on this, Jay, before I get to the protester part?
Yeah, I think, she could be onto something. A lot of people, remember the Mayan calendar has supposedly predicted what people were saying was the end of the world. But upon reflection, people are now realizing they probably meant more the end of an age, because the Mayans believed that, there are different ages. And we did actually shift from the age of, I think, Pisces to the age of Aquarius, where we're in right now, which is the age of information. So it is pretty coincidental that the age of information, which is what the age of Aquarius has been supposed to be for thousands of years, according to, the Mayans, is when, not just the Mayans, actually, that's what, Aquarius represents. But it is pretty coincidental that now is when the internet, is blossoming and AI is blossoming, and we can share all this information, in ways we were never able to before. So there are a lot of coincidences there. So, I thought, hearing her break it down, I didn't even catch a lot of that stuff when I was watching the performance, but, I think she could be onto something. And, it's all the more reason why I think, we do need to remain hopeful, because as many problems as there are with the world, we also have more solutions than we've ever had before too. So even though we may have some big problems, we also have more solutions. And, objectively speaking, at least for us in the Western world, this is like undoubtedly the best time to be alive, like in the past in recorded history that we know of. I don't think there's another time we would rather be alive than right now. So got to look at the positive side. But I got to go back and now rewatch that performance again because her analysis was pretty on point from what I can tell.
And I encourage everybody to do a little more work on this, because a lot of people are saying they didn't understand what he was saying. I admit that I couldn't understand a lot of lyrics, but you guys need to go back and look. There's people that have posted all the lyrics, and you can look at and break them down. Look at what the stuff he was. And I would suspect that if we couldn't understand the articulation on our TVs, I bet you during rehearsal, the NFL people running the show couldn't understand it either. So he definitely slipped some stuff by on purpose, is my guess. That's kind of my take.
Here's the thing also, I've actually seen a few videos posted to Twitter of people who are recording within the stadium, and the words were clearer in the stadium than they were on TV. So I don't know if that's a coincidence, but from the recordings I saw posted on Twitter, it was a lot easier to understand when you were there, in person. So who knows if that was accidental or not.
Yeah. Well, I got to throw one more story from the halftime show up, because this was important for us. Obviously, as pro-Palestinian activists, we're in the streets. We saw this happen. There was a lot of angles of it. This is one of my favorite ones because it kind of captures the whole thing in about a minute and change here. So check this out, and then we'll talk about it. So quick pause. So he was on. So just to be clear, this is a guy that was in the performance of the halftime show. He's not from the audience. He didn't run on the field. He started on a platform, and he deliberately jumps on the car, whips out the flag, and then jumps on the ground. So he's part of this very large cast of performers. They say there were about 400 of them. So he's one of the hired performers. He's actually getting a paycheck for this, or he might not get it now. But watch what happens next, because he's getting the flag out as much as possible, and he's running fast because he knows they're going to catch him, so he better run. And they literally have to drag him off the stage. And if you guys want to know what happened next, we had this. Basically, he says the performer in the Super Bowl halftime show was banned from NFL events, Stadiums for Life, after improvised protest. So, so even, this has been official. He's been banned. Now, did he plan this thing out in advance? Yeah, he did. And we actually saw a little bit of an interview. Somebody gave him an interview here, and he's able to say it from his own mouth of what he actually did. Here it is.
Felt I didn't have a choice because I was selected to be a part of the halftime show, and when I saw what my position was, it was a great stage, a large stage. And we know as a practicing Muslim, our Prophet Muhammad teaches us, if you see a wrongdoing, or you're aware of a wrongdoing, you must stop it with your hands. And if you can't stop it with your hands, stop it with your tongue. Speak out against it. And if you can't stop it with your tongue, try to stop it with your heart, meaning pray about it. And we know that's the weakest of faith. So I had an opportunity on a grand scale to bring awareness or speak out against a wrong of our Muslim brothers and sisters, because we know if one part of the body is hurting, all of the body is hurting. This ummah is one body. So I didn't want to face my creator and not with a sign of weak faith when I knew I had an opportunity to show I didn't have weak faith.
So let me ask you, do you have any cultural or family links to either Palestine or Sudan, or was this purely a gesture of humanity and support for those affected by these wars?
Humanitarian. I'm a humanitarian and I'm a Muslim. So we're spiritually connected in Islam, and we're human, and we're connected with empathy for humanity because we're all human beings, guys.
That is great. What an opportunity, even just on this Al Jazeera interview, to be very clear. I'm connected to humanity. That's why, and that's why everybody in the streets that's been doing the protesting for 15 months, as you know, Jay, we've all been part of this movement, and it is about humanity. I'm glad he was able to put that out there and maybe get a few more people paying attention right now, especially because Trump is the one in the driver's seat, and Trump's the one talking about the land grab and all the money we're going to make and all the oil. And he's saying the quiet part out loud, which is one of the reasons we were like, hey, maybe it's a good thing Trump's in there, because he will literally say the thing that'll get people to notice, and that notice that people like this and people like us, we've been in the streets this whole time. So that's my take on that. You got any thoughts on everything that he's talking about and what happened on Sunday Super Bowl?
Yeah, he hit a key point, and it's like we all need to be connected to our humanity first, because whatever we allow to happen over there, even if you don't care that it's happening to other people, eventually it's going to come back and it's going to be done to our own population too. So, but in general, we have to realize that this would not be happening in either of those countries if it weren't for our tax dollars. So, I'm not Palestinian. I'm not, I don't have any family or, in the Congo or Sudan, but, I speak out about these issues every opportunity, like I get to, because I understand that, number one, my tax dollars are funding it. And number two, these are human beings. And for anyone who is outraged that, he would use this position to, like stage a protest like this, I just would urge you to just take a look at some of the bombings and some of the pictures that have happened over there in Palestine, and just imagine how you would react and the lengths you would go to try to bring awareness to what's going on if you were directly related to some of those people. Like, unfortunately, what's happening over there is probably creating terrorists like right now, because they want revenge for what's happened to them, or they think the only way to stop it is to physically fight back. All he did was simply a non-violent protest to, show people what's happening and try to draw attention to it. So there are people dying by the tens of thousands over there. It's an intentional starvation. And now they've just announced plans to finish the ethnic cleansing. People are going to be pissed. Like, this is a non-violent protest. This is literally the best type of protest that we could ask for, because people are going to get more and more energized the more these plans set into motion. So the more solidarity we can show with these people, and the more pressure we can place on our leaders to do the right thing and not go down that road, the more pain and suffering we can avoid for everybody. So, I really hope that people are not like upset just because he might have quote unquote spoiled a performance or raised a flag you don't like, because there's a lot of people dying right now, like over there. So it's not just Palestine, not just Sudan. He can't hold up every flag in the world where there's a conflict happening, but there's a lot of terrible things happening in the Congo right now too.
Yeah, no. And so this protest was beautifully placed
Mhm.
because it fit the schematic of what Kendrick Lamar was doing. And I wouldn't be
Mhm.
surprised if he saw it off the side of his face and gave a little smile to it, because it's like, this is the whole thing. This is the messaging. And you talk about timing, Jay. You talk about timing and the time we live in right now, the time we live in the entertainment industry. And we're back to this feud, because I just want to point that part out before I get one more reply from you on this. But the feud between Kendrick and Drake, this is different than anything we've seen. This isn't a Tupac Biggie. I know some people say, oh, it's just one of those where they're putting people against each other. No, there's something really significantly different going on here, where one guy somehow got to the Super Bowl stage, somehow was able to plan this entire thing, this call to action for all populists on right and left, because we saw it. We showed you guys earlier. This is happening on all sides. This isn't just a black movement or a Palestine movement. It's a movement for everyone. And they're standing up against, what he's standing up against is the stuff that Drake represents, which is everything negative, everything evil, the pedophilia, literally accusing him of pedophilia in his song, and the people he associates with. And we're at a time when P. Diddy is going down, and these people, this industry is collapsing with so much exposure of so much horrible crimes against children, crimes against humanity. It is insane the time we're living in, where a show like this, that he could get away with something like that. We know we're on the right side when we're championing him, and we know that Drake's going to come back hard. And this is ongoing. We're not done with this battle, but it's very clear which guy is on the right side of history in this feud. And people are paying attention, and they're saying, wait, what is Drake involved with? Wait, I didn't know that. And so we want this stuff to be exposed, and little by little, I think it will. And this is the time to do it.
Yeah, I don't even think Drake's even going to continue on with it anymore, and the reason why is because he's already lost so badly. In fact, it almost feels like a Ja Rule moment. I don't know if his career is going to drop off as quickly as 50 Cent killed Ja Rule's career, but a lot of people are pointing out the fact that this is the only time a diss song has ever won like an actual Grammy and then like been performed on the world's biggest stage. So, and oh yeah, and he did file a lawsuit too. And I think by the time thanks for pointing that out, Kit, in the back channels. But by the time Drake actually filed a lawsuit, that's pretty much admitting defeat, because now you're saying you're not going back and forth, over songs and lyrically anymore. You're just trying to weaponize the law against your opponent, which is crazy because, there's actually a lot of evidence behind what Kendrick is saying, because Drake was even caught sending inappropriate messages to like a 13-year-old girl or something like that. So there is a lot of truth behind what he's saying. And, Drake said about Kendrick, oh, well, he was accused of beating his wife, called him a wife beater and all that, but there's never been any evidence of that. So Drake is insulting him. He's insulting Drake, yet Drake decides he's going to go file a lawsuit. That's admitting defeat, like in my opinion, because now you're not even rapping anymore. Now you're trying to weaponize the law. And I don't think, at least in the hip hop community directly, I don't think Drake is going to be able to get the same kind of respect, that he had before, because he's taking that route. And I'm not saying he can't survive as some kind of like pop star to an extent, but within the hip hop community, I can't see it.
We'll see, because it really depends on his handlers. It depends on if the people that running everything, if they're going to allow him, if they're going to throw him out the back door or allow him to stay in the game. And you can see, Beyonce, Jay-Z, there's your examples. If you're like, why are they still in the front row of all these events after everything that we're seeing on those guys? So it's like the handlers at the top of the top of the top, they can make ultimately the call. And if they want to decide Jay-Z or Beyonce, you're good no matter what, then they're good no matter what. If you want to say, hey, Drake, you're on your own, then it's up to Drake if he's going to make it or not. And then I would lean with you, Jay. He's probably not. And it's going to be a Ja Rule situation. But what a moment.
The fact that they let Kendrick perform this on the Super Bowl stage kind of makes me feel like they could be a little done with Drake right now, because don't forget, Jay-Z was actually the one who organized it, because Roc Nation is the music label that decides who performs at the Super Bowl, and then obviously it gets approved by the NFL. But it is Rock Nation kind of calling those shots right now. So it does seem like a lot of people in the establishment, are kind of done with Drake at this point.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I gotta say, for those who haven't listened to Kendrick's music, like, he does actually have a pretty powerful message, and I'd encourage you to, even pull up the lyric video so you can read along to like what he's saying, and you'll see that he does have a lot of deep meaning in his music. So definitely one of the best rappers I've heard. So
yeah. All right, well, we'll see. We'll keep tuned on this, but what a time to be alive.